Hello and welcome to our webinar, Thriller, Mystery, and True Crime. I'm Donna Seaman, Editor-in-Chief for Booklist. Before we begin, I'd like to go over some technical details. Links to today's slide presentation and title list were included in the reminder email you received from Zoom an hour ago. To download them, please open that email, scroll to the bottom, and click on the links located there. You can also download the slides and title list by typing the URLs on this screen into your web browser. If you have any trouble accessing these materials, please contact us at webinars@booklistonline.com. The audience is in listen-only mode, but we welcome any questions you may have. On the bottom of your screen is a toolbar with a button for Q&A. If you have a question or need technical assistance, simply click Q&A and type your message into the box. We will do our best to respond to all tech-related questions, and we will pass along other questions to today's panelists so they can follow up with you after the webinar. Booklist offers closed captioning on all webinars. To enable or disable captions on your screen, please look for and click the captions icon on the toolbar. From there, you can select Show or Hide Captions from the menu that appears. If you choose to enable subtitles, you can adjust the size of the captions at any time by selecting Caption Settings. And finally, Booklist expects all participants to maintain an atmosphere of respect and fairness. Anyone who violates the standard of behavior, including engaging in any form of harassment, may, at the discretion of the organizers, be immediately removed. Okay, today we have the great pleasure of hearing from Grace Caternolo, Library Marketing Coordinator at HarperCollins Publishers, Erica Loberg, Senior Publicist at SOHO Press, Elham Ale, Trade Marketing Lead at ECW Press, and Faith Matson, Senior Editor and Publicist at Oceanview Publishing. So glad you're all here. All right, first up is Grace Caternolo. Grace is the Library Marketing Coordinator at HarperCollins Publishers. When she's not tying up odds and ends for the Library Love Fest team, you can find her reading coming-of-age novels next to her cat or watching TikToks for, in quotes, work purposes. Welcome, Grace.
Thank you, Donna. Yes, hi, everyone. My name is Grace, and I'm the Library Marketing Coordinator at HarperCollins. Thank you for being here today, and thank you to Booklist for having me. Next slide, please. I just wanted to do a really quick overview of our programs. We do 2 monthly programs live on Facebook and Crowdcast. Galley Gabfest is a book buzz, and we also have Writers to Watch and author program. Our next episode of Writers to Watch will feature Nnedi Okorafor, Joseph Finder, Gillian McAllister, and Maud Ventura. So we hope you can join us next Tuesday at 6 p.m. for that event, 6 p.m. Eastern time. And getting right into the books. Next slide. So we've been doing roundups now. So this is our psychological thriller roundup. So next slide. Our first book is Buried Road. This can be read as a standalone, but it is a follow-up to the international best-selling books Dark August and Poison Lilies. When the love of her life, Howard, disappeared on a camping trip, Gus Monet was devastated. Her daughter, Bly, was only 9 at the time, but remembers the heartbreak vividly. Howard had been like a father to her. He was a journalist working on a story that took a dark and dangerous turn. The last time they saw him, he was going to meet a source that he believed could blow the story wide open. Years later, Gus and Bly find evidence that turns the cold case red hot. Searching for answers, they vow to follow the story Howard was pursuing and expose whoever went to deadly lengths to stop him from revealing the truth. It's a story of a young girl and mother whose reckless resolve leads them ever closer to lethal danger. New York Times bestselling author Adrienne McKinty said, a fast-paced missing persons thriller with a heart-pounding, twisty final third that I very much enjoyed. She is a big new talent. And this is also available as a simultaneous hardcover. Our next slide. We have Retreat by Kristen Ritter. Yes, that Kristen Ritter from shows like Breaking Bad and Jessica Jones. This is a psychological thriller about identity and obsession that follows a woman who slips into the life of a wealthy socialite without realizing that she is putting herself in danger. And we also have Fair Play. If you are a fan of Anthony Horowitz or Tana French, you're going to want to pick up this genre-breaking debut. A group of friends go to an Airbnb on New Year's Eve and they throw a jazz-age murder mystery party. The next morning, all of them wake up except one, and a detective shows up to solve the murder. Next slide. We have The Profiler by Helen Fields. This is a twisty, high-concept cat and mouse game about a psychopath and a psychological analyst whose destinies are tied together. Midnight Jones is an analyst trained to understand the human mind. When she's given the case of Profile K, she knows that someone more dangerous than she could have ever imagined walks among them. She knows what he's going to do before he does it, and she has to find him before he finds her. And Havoc by Christopher Bolin. This is a psychological suspense novel full of twists from the author of The Lost Americans. It's about an elderly woman who loves to stick her nose in places that it doesn't belong and meddle in other people's business, but she decides enough is enough. I'm not doing this anymore, and goes to a luxury hotel where she is ready to leave her past behind her. But then she can't help but pry into another family's business and gets herself into some hot water. Next slide. We are moving on to historical mysteries. Our next slide, we have The Girl from Greenwich Street. Next slide. Thank you. We just love Lauren Willig. She is a New York Times bestselling author of countless historical fiction novels, including Two Wars and a Wedding. And this is a historical fiction mystery that will have you gripped. We've been thinking about this as Law and Order 1800. It's based on the true story of a famous trial with Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr. So Hamilton fans, this one is for you. Right before the Christmas of 1799, a woman named Alma leaves her Quaker cousin's boarding house and never returns. No one knows what happened to her until she shows up in a Manhattan well. Following her death, flyers circulate all around the city accusing a carpenter named Levi of seducing and murdering her, and her family is convinced it's him. And this is where Hamilton and Burr step in. Levi's rich brother calls Burr asking for a favor. He needs him to defend his brother. Burr's in a tough spot. He's not making enough money from his legal practice, and he's like, this is perfect. I can make some money defending Levi and also make a headline. But Hamilton cannot let Burr have the spotlight, so he also jumps in to defend Levi, and the two end up racing against time and each other. It's part murder mystery, part thriller, part true crime, and I really love this read, and I hope you will too. Next slide. We have The Serpent Under. Sherlock fans, tune in. This is the next book in a Sherlock Holmes series. It has 3 interconnected stories. There's a murder, there's jealousy, there's deceit, and it's a very thrilling ride. And they just all 3 connect really seamlessly. And it was a really fun read. Next slide. Okay, we have some domestic thrillers. First up on the next slide, we have Chloe. Connie Briscoe is a New York Times bestselling author of You Never Know, among many other books, and this is an update to Daphne du Maurier's classic Rebecca. She delivers this atmospheric gothic suspense novel that will have you hooked into the last page. Our main character, Angel, is a private chef to the Harrisons, a powerful Black family in Martha's Vineyard. During a lavish garden party, she meets Everett Bruce, a widow mourning the loss of his first wife, Chloe, who died by suicide. He's enchanted by Angel, and she accepts his invitation to become a private chef in his mansion along the Potomac River. Soon, they begin a romantic relationship and get married. At the mansion, though, she feels like the ghost of Chloe is haunting her, so she begins to search for answers regarding Chloe's death and questions how well she actually knows her husband. It's propulsive and wildly entertaining. On the next slide, we have Dying to Meet You. So this novel asks the terrifying question of how well do we know the men in our lives? Rowan Gallagher is doing what many women before her have done, stalk their exes using an app like Find My Friends. And one day she sees him parked at their old favorite spot, and she loses it. She shows up at his car, thinking that she's going to catch him with another woman, but she doesn't. And instead, she is now the first witness to his murder and a suspect. And this one is also available as a simultaneous hardcover. Okay, on the next slide, we have a procedural. This is a series adjacent novel from the world of Jane Casey's beloved detective constable, Maeve Kerrigan. An undercover police officer, Rob Langton, is deep into an assignment to stop a notorious crime family, and he becomes a patriarch's right-hand man, but he is running out of time to stop a dangerous plot to bomb a public place. Next, we have some crime books. On the next slide, we have Joseph Fender, the Oligarch's Daughter. Reminder, he will be on Writers to Watch next Tuesday, 6 p.m., Facebook or Crowdcast. Joseph is the New York Times bestselling author of 15 suspense novels, including House on Fire. This book follows Paul Brightman, who is on the run with a $1 million bounty on his head, and he's living under a fake name in a small New England town. When his cover is blown, he has to flee in the middle of nowhere to New Hampshire because Russian ops are after him. He ended up in this situation because he fell in love with a gorgeous photographer named Tatiana 6 years earlier while he was working on Wall Street. The issue, her father was a Russian oligarch who had caught the attention of the US government. And now, to save his own life, he has to uncover the conspiracy from decades earlier. It's a classic spy novel, but feels very refreshing and timely. And we are so excited to be publishing him at Harper for the first time. On the next slide, we have The Runner. So Lloyd became a hit when he went viral on TikTok for his first novel, The Stone Maidens, and this is his next one. Martin is a runner and a businessman for a man named Ben, but Ben isn't who he thought he was and has this extensive criminal network and the FBI on his trail. And a deal goes wrong and Martin has to flee and find out what happens in this gripping thriller when you read it. We have Grave Danger. This is book number 19 in the Jack Switek series by the best-selling author James Capando. Jack is back to defend a single mother who is accused of kidnapping her own child. It involves politics, international diplomacy, and will test his legal knowledge and his own marriage. Booklist says Switek continues to be one of the more compelling legal thriller protagonists, and Capando continues to be one of the genre's best craftsmen, another winner in this consistently excellent series. Next, we also have a book number 19, different series, different author. This is Brad Taylor's Pike Logan series. Task Force Operator Pike Logan intervenes on an attempted attack during a meeting between the CIA and India's intelligence service. It turns into this race against the clock to foil an intricate geopolitical scheme. Mark Greaney calls it a knockout punch of a novel. Next, we have some suspense novels. Our first book is Famous Last Words by Gillian McAllister. Another reminder, she will also be joining us next week on Writers to Watch. And this is a thriller from the author of Wrong Place, Wrong Time, which was Reese's book club pick. And this begs a question, how well do you know the person closest to you? I feel like a theme for a lot of these books are deception and scary things. Camilla is a new mother and she is finally returning to her job as a literary agent after months on maternity leave. She drops her infant off at daycare for the first time and gets to work, but the office is filled with police. There's a man who has taken 3 hostages and is in a standoff with authorities nearby. Luke, her husband, someone she's loved for over 10 years, is the kidnapper. Flash forward 7 years, her husband has disappeared and she has just been sitting quietly accepting that she'll never really know what happened that day. She's kind of beginning to let him go when she gets a text with an anonymous location. This is a page turner that explores marriage, motherhood, and secrets. Next, we have a new Peter Swanson, very excited. This is called Kill Your Darlings. Tom and Wendy have been married for over 25 years. They have a grown son, a beautiful Victorian house, and in Wendy's case, a desire to murder her husband. Swanson tells us about their marriage in reverse, moving back in time, and eventually we learn what happened in their early 20s and secrets that have kept them bound together. We also have The Good Samaritan, a thriller about a small town college professor who's barely holding on after the death of his toddler son, a divorce, and a job that he loved. While driving around an empty highway one night, he spies a child curled up underneath a plastic tarp. The boy awakens and begs Matthew not to take him to the hospital or to call the police. Matthew ends up making some very dangerous choices that put him, the boy, and his remaining family at risk. Next slide, we have The Weekend Guest. In the vein of Lucy Foley, this is a dual timeline locked room thriller. First timeline is set during a weekend getaway in a beautiful vacation cottage along the Dorset coast in 2019, and the other is at University of Edinburgh in 2001. So a group of old university friends get together for a reunion that will end in betrayal and murder after a crime they committed in college is threatened to come to light. It is compulsively readable, twisty, atmospheric, and has an ending you will not see coming. Next, we have books that are kind of outside of the thriller and mystery box, and I just think they're really unique, and I wanted to make sure you knew about them. First book is Murder Takes Vacation by Laura Lippman. We love Laura Lippman and are so excited for this one. It's an irresistible mystery that follows Mrs. Blossom, a former private investigator and middle-aged widow. She finds a winning lotto ticket in a parking lot and everything changes. Like many of us, she wants to see the world that is seemingly passing her by. On her flight to get to the cruise to France, she meets a man named Alan that gets her heart beating fast. This is the first time she's felt that way since her husband passed away. But Alan is found dead just 24 hours later in Paris. And now she's stuck on this cruise ship that she doesn't know who to trust. And this mysterious man named Danny keeps coming around and telling her that Alan was involved in this movement of a stolen art piece. And she gets increasingly suspicious and she feels like someone's following her, who is Alan? Who is Danny? Who killed Alan? And it's just this really cozy, charming thriller with these unforgettable characters. And it's Laura Lippman at her best. Next, we have an unforgettable debut novel from Emily J. Smith, who's a tech professional with a degree from Cornell and the founder of a dating app named Chorus. And she can write. She's extremely multi-talented. Edie Walker is not doing well. She's a 35-year-old feeling stuck in her career and love life while being cramped in her San Francisco studio apartment. Her best friend and longtime crush, Peter, is basically her successful counterpart, just to rub some salt in the wound. When he and his long-term girlfriend break up, she thinks this is her chance to make him fall for her. That does not happen, and he starts dating a gorgeous professor named Anaya, who is the exact opposite of Edie, and Edie kind of finds herself really infatuated by this woman, but then Anaya is found dead after going on a date with Peter. Edie is desperate to prove Peter's innocence and find out what really happened to Anaya, and when the truth is revealed, she must decide where her loyalties lie and who deserves justice. I think it's a really great thriller for people who may not normally reach for a thriller, and it's just very propulsive and tense. Next, we have The Usual Family Mayhem. This is a character-driven novel with some crime, some love, and definitely some laughs. Casey needs to impress her boss and thinks she can do so by investing in a small-town business called Mag's Desserts, run by two women. When she gets to North Carolina, she realizes the ladies have secrets as reports of mysterious deaths of abusive men surface, all from households that received a delivery from Mag's Desserts. And finally, we have The Retirement Plan. This is a perfect book for fans of the Thursday Murder Club and Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone. Their middle-aged best friends are out for blood in order to collect their husbands' life insurance policies. At the same time, their husbands are also scheming and have a plan of their own for retirement. It's funny, tense, and perfect for book clubs as it deals with aging, friendship, and marriage. And that is all for me. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Grace. That was terrific. All right, next up, we have Erica Loberg. Erica is a senior publicist at SOHO Press in New York City. Thanks for being here, Erica.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here and share some upcoming highlights from Soho Crime's Spring 2025 list. Please feel free to check out all of these books on NetGalley and Edelweiss to get some digital review copies after this webinar. And with that, I will get started. On the next slide, please. Starting in February, we have Saint of the Narrows Street, a dishy New York City crime drama by William Boyle. With 8 previous novels under his belt, William Boyle has carved a niche as a master of Brooklyn fiction, writing about his hometown South Brooklyn neighborhood of Gravesend. While Boyle now lives in Oxford, Mississippi, his Brooklyn roots remain crystal clear on the pages of his immersive narratives. His crime fiction is very literary and character-forward, drawing you into not only Brooklyn, but the world and feelings of his multifaceted characters as well. If you haven't read Boyle before, you should dip into this new one if you're a fan of Dennis Lehane, Jonathan Lethem, or The Sopranos. Saint of the Narrows Street is a gritty kitchen sink drama and intimate Italian-American family saga taking place over nearly 20 years. The novel begins in 1986, Gravesend, Brooklyn, in the kitchen of young mother Risa Franzoni. Risa is a dutiful wife and loving mother to an 8-month-old baby, but lately her husband Sav has been spiraling into a life of crime and aggression, making Risa fearful for their baby's safety. One night, Risa's younger sister Julia moves in with the family as she's reeling from a bad breakup. Risa's husband, Sav, arrives home drunk and belligerent, and Risa, at the end of her rope, full of anger and fear, hits Sav with a cast iron pan, killing him on the spot. Risa and Julia are in a panic, and instead of notifying the authorities and pleading self-defense, they make a startling decision, calling Sav's trustworthy childhood friend named Chooch to help them get rid of the body and pretend nothing ever happened. After that fateful night, we follow Risa, Julia, and Chooch over the next 18 years through further pain, trauma, and growth as they move on with their lives. We get to know them intimately, feeling like part of the family as we see how that one night changes their lives forever, and over time the cracks of their murderous cover-up are slowly revealed. The read is gritty, painful, heartfelt, and vividly immersive, revealing the interiority of these characters while grappling with issues of gender, class, identity, faith, and everything else that composes life for an Italian-American family and community in late 20th century Brooklyn. Hand this to fans of soapy family sagas, New York City fiction, and dark crime dramas. Next, please. In March, we have a new book from the amazing Minneapolis-based Anishinaabe author and arts activist Marcy R. Rendon. Broken Fields is the 4th installment of the award-winning Cash Black Bear Mysteries. Set in 1970s Minnesota, the series deftly weaves together true Native American history, fast-paced murder mysteries, atmospheric Midwestern settings, and elements of the supernatural. Our heroine is the young Ojibwe woman, Cash Blackbear. Raised in the foster system, Cash is tough as nails with a soft spot for helping people, especially vulnerable Native women. Using her uncanny intuition and the occasional visions that come to her, she helps her friend/former guardian, Sheriff Wheaton, solve mysteries, often with deadly stakes, across Minnesota's Red River Valley. These books offer a riveting character study of Cash as we watch her make her way into adulthood, navigating college, relationships, and now working life. She's a compelling character whose grit, intelligence, empathy, and flaws are on full display, making it a wonderful journey getting to know her over the course of the series. As Angeline Booley says, quote, "Marcy writes the way Anishinaabe people view the world," end quote. In an honest and unflinching tone, the Cash Blackbear mysteries hold a lens to ordinary lives in ordinary settings while confronting the harrowing histories and legacies left for Indigenous people in America. If you haven't read the series, I highly recommend starting with the first one, Murder on the Red River, but you'll quickly find a lot to love even if you dive into this new one first. To give you a quick preview, Broken Fields begins in the springtime in 1970s Minnesota. Cash Blackbear is doing field work for a local farmer, but then finds him dead on the kitchen floor of the property's rented farmhouse. The native field laborer who lives there with his wife is nowhere to be found, but Cash discovers their young daughter Shawnee cowering under a bed. It's unclear what Shawnee may have seen, as she's too terrified to speak, so Cash dials Sheriff Wheaton for help. In the wake of the murder, Cash has her suspicions, particularly about the farmer's widow, who temporarily takes Shawnee in, but Cash's focus remains on the young girl, who she worries will be put into the foster system. As Cash scours the White Earth Reservation for Shawnee's missing mother, another body turns up, and Cash must race against the clock to find out what's going on. Marcy Rendon once again delivers a completely enthralling mystery, this time seamlessly weaving in details of the American Indian movement, abusive farm labor practices, and women's liberation. Hand this to fans of Stephen Graham Jones, the show Reservation Dogs, and fast-paced, social issues-driven mysteries. Next, please. Rewinding a bit, in December, we have Against the Grain by Peter Lovesey. If you've followed Soho Crime for a while, then you probably know Peter Lovesey, who is one of our most prolific and decorated authors. One of 3 writers alive to have attained Lifetime Achievement Awards from both the British Crime Writers Association and the Mystery Writers of America. So it's no surprise that crime fiction aficionados consider him one of the most important mystery authors of the last century. After 56 years, 43 novels, 6 story collections, and editing some nonfiction and anthologies, Peter Lovesey claims over 50 books to his name, and with Against the Grain, he's retiring from the game in grand fashion with the 22nd and final novel in the award-winning Peter Diamond mystery series. This long-running series has proven Lovesey a legend of the fair play mystery, writing engaging and fun-to-follow-along puzzle mysteries that have charmed fans of Agatha Christie and Louise Penny alike. With Lovesey's signature humor, Against the Grain offers an entertaining send-up of private eye and noir tropes as our hero, Detective Peter Diamond, goes undercover at a seasonal festival. When Diamond's former colleague invites him to an idyllic English village for a brief vacation, ulterior motives quickly emerge as Diamond is roped into a murder investigation. The woman who owns the village's largest dairy farm has been convicted of manslaughter following a terrible accident in her grain silo, but it seems like there's more to the story as signs point to a potential murderer on the loose. As the village prepares for their annual harvest festival, Diamond goes incognito as a curious tourist to gather information, which proves more difficult than anticipated. Our curmudgeonly detective has plenty to learn about himself as he tries on some new hats as undercover PI, village detective, and country gentleman. In another perfectly plotted mystery, which earned a starred review from PW, Against the Grain is a delightful, bittersweet conclusion to the acclaimed Peter Diamond mystery series and a stunning conclusion to an iconic author's career. Next, please. In April, we have an exciting new mystery set in a place rare to crime fiction. This is The Museum Detective by Maha Khan Phillips. An award-winning journalist currently living in London, Maha Khan Phillips was born in Karachi, Pakistan, and returns there often, so you can trust her to perfectly capture the sights and sounds of Pakistan in this thrilling mystery perfect for armchair travelers seeking a new destination. Fans of Soho Crime's own Sujata Massey will want to pay close attention to this exciting series starter. Our main character is Dr. Gul Dilani, a talented curator at the Museum of Heritage and History in Pakistan, where she's considered one of the country's leading experts in archaeology and ancient civilization. When Gul is awoken one night by a call from the police, her mind instantly races to her niece Manaz, a precocious and politically conscious teenage girl who disappeared 3 years prior. Unfortunately, the police aren't calling about Manaz. Instead, they urgently summon Gul to help with an unfolding narcotics investigation several hours away in the remote desert. It's an odd request, but Gul is left with no choice but to agree. So she gets in the car and is driven several hours out to the remote desert, and she arrives to find the aftermath of a violent drug bust as swarms of police officers and paramedics with loaded stretchers are moving about, cleaning up the scene. She's still confused about why they want her there until an officer leads her into a cave where she's completely stunned by what she finds: an ornately carved wooden sarcophagus, at least 1,600 years old, containing a real mummy. Gul is confounded. There's no way this mummy's from Pakistan, so what's it doing here? After an initial inspection of the sarcophagus and body, Gul determines it's from the Achaemenid Empire, which makes this the first Persian mummy Gul has ever seen. This discovery seems too good to be true, especially in the middle of a drug bust, and Gul has to get to the bottom of it, so she demands that the mummy be brought to her museum for further investigation. As Gul and her team of unlikely misfits search for the truth about this unbelievable mummy, Gul finds herself drawn into the middle of a dangerous conspiracy that ends up colliding with her ongoing search for her missing niece. Providing a portrait of a corrupt city and a woman relentlessly in pursuit of justice, the museum detective builds to an unforgettable and emotional conclusion as it announces a brilliant new sleuth. This is perfect for archaeology buffs, readers interested in learning more about the Middle East, and fans of Sue Grafton, Ellie Griffiths, and Elsa Hart. And as a fun Easter egg, this whole story is actually inspired by crazy real-life events. Just look up Persian mummy hoax for more behind-the-scenes info. Next, please. Next, we have 2 books from Leonie Swan, the author of Soho's recent Agnes Sharp investigations. Long before she wrote The Sunset Years of Agnes Sharp, Leonie Swan published 3 Bags Full, a delightful sheep detective story about a flock of sheep who set out to find who murdered their beloved shepherd. Led by Miss Maple, the smartest sheep in the Irish village and possibly the world, the zany cast of sheep gather for night-long discussions about the crime and embark on furtive missions to the village to spy on the townspeople there. This heartfelt and witty animal POV mystery was an instant hit, staying on German bestseller charts for months and becoming an international bestseller as it was translated into 26 languages, and a movie adaptation is currently in the works starring the brilliant Hugh Jackman and Emma Thompson, coming in 2026, so keep an eye out for that. Before then, though, for the book's 20th anniversary next year, we're excited to publish this deluxe paperback edition, including this brilliant new cover, discussion questions, and a foreword by New York Times bestselling author A.J. Finn. The paperback of 3 Bags Full publishes at the end of February, and then just a couple months later, in early May, we have a brand new, never-before-published hardcover sequel called Big Bad Wool, which picks right back up with the eclectic cast of woolly detectives as they solve another grisly case. In Big Bad Wool, the sheep have a new shepherd and a new home neighboring a group of goats. As winter settles in, deer in the forest start dying unnaturally, and it begins to seem like a murderous werewolf is on the loose. Hoping to save themselves and their new shepherd, the sheep and goats team up to track down the killer. Just like 3 Bags Full, the new Big Bad Wool is a quirky, offbeat take on a traditional mystery, and while there's still plenty of humor in this cozy-ish story, Big Bad Wool edges into slightly darker territory that fans of the Agnes Sharp books will appreciate. And this delightful series to fans of Carl Hyacin and Kira Jane Buxton. Next, please. And last but not least, at the end of May, we have Summer House by debut author Yiğit Karaahmet, translated from the Turkish by Nicholas Glastonbury. Summer House is a gay thriller that balances high camp and dark suspense, kind of like The Birdcage meets Patricia Highsmith. The story takes place on an idyllic island near Istanbul, opening with the loving bickering between Femi and Sener, a closeted gay couple who've been together for 40 years. After so long together, their relationship is still full of love, but also constantly on the verge of erupting as they get on each other's last nerve the way only people who know each other so dearly are able to. When a handsome teen boy named Dennis moves in next door for the summer, things get complicated for the couple. Dennis is like a human representation of toxic masculinity, but he's also very easy on the eyes, and Femi develops a crush on him. While Center doesn't think Dennis would ever entertain anything with his partner, he can't shake the nerves and jealousy, so he keeps a close eye on Femi, and his resentment keeps building as he feels betrayed by Femi's attention towards Dennis again and again. This whole situation unfolds in the first half of the book as a campy, dishy, almost rom-com-y drama with a tense undercurrent that eventually snaps, shifting the novel into dark, suspenseful thriller territory when something quickly goes very wrong. Full of black humor, the summertime suspense offers a wild ride that's compulsively readable, all while making a statement about queerness as the author draws from his own experience as a gay man in Istanbul, where living authentically can be really dangerous, as he himself has been targeted by the fundamentalist press there many times. Summer House is a great dark beach read, perfect for fans of queer thrillers, domestic suspense, literary translations, and PJ Vernon. And next slide, please. There's my email on the screen. If you have any questions about any of these titles, feel free to email me. And with that, I will hand it off to the next speaker. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Erica. Well, now we will hear from Elham Ali. Elham graduated from the University of Toronto in 2014, and since completing the Humber College Publishing Program, she has worked in marketing and publicity roles at Canada's Ballet Yorgan, Penguin Random House Canada, and Dundurn Press. She joined ECW Press as senior publicist in 2020 and has been serving as the trade marketing lead since 2021. We're so happy you're here, Elham.
Thank you so much. I'm always happy to be here with you all at these Booklist webinars. I really love doing them. And I'm very excited to talk to you today about some mysteries and thrillers that we have coming. Next slide, please. ECW Press, if you don't know, we're one of Canada's largest independent publishers. We're celebrating our 50th anniversary this year, so we're really excited, and hopefully, 50 years more. Throughout that time, we've done over 1,000 books, and mysteries and thrillers have been a big part of that list because Canada has such a long and storied history of publishing successful mystery authors. So I'm really excited to be able to tell you about some old favorites and some great new voices that we have coming. Next slide, please. And so I'm going to start with some old favorites. We have lots and lots of backlist titles to present to you today, so I hope that you'll find some new favorite authors. The first one is 11 Huskies, a Dr. Bannerman vet mystery by Philip Schott. This is the third book in veterinarian Dr. Philip Schott's quirky, cozy vet mystery series. The books follow fellow veterinarian Dr. Peter Bannerman, and the fuzzy Watson to his Sherlock is his dog Pippin, as they work together to solve animal-based crimes in their small town. Except in this book, Peter and Pippin are going on vacation. They head to a fishing lodge for some well-deserved rest, but of course, it's not long before trouble starts brewing. The lodge's team of huskies is poisoned at the same time that a plane crash in the lake leaves 3 people dead. Then, when a forest fire cuts the lodge off from the rest of the world, Peter soon realizes that these two events are connected, and whoever is behind the incidents has to be trapped among the guests inside. We're really excited to be continuing this series. It's been so well received by critics and beloved by readers alike. In a starred review for the last book, 6 Ostriches, Publishers Weekly said that the series combines the soothing sleuthing of Murder, She Wrote with the humble charm of all creatures great and small. And the first book, 54 Pigs, was a gold winner in the Forward Indies Book of the Year Award in the mystery category. So we're really excited to bring back the series, and we already have a 4th book planned for next year. That one is going to be called 3 Bengal Kittens, and so I'm really excited to see that cover, and I hope you will be too. It is a series, but each of the novels can be read as a standalone or in any order you like. So if you love animals or mysteries, be sure to grab this one. Next slide, please. Another fan favorite is back. The Long Shot Trial is the latest book in William Deverell's Arthur Beauchamp thriller series. William is a former journalist and a criminal lawyer, and the series has been racking up fans and awards since its inception in 1997. While this is the 9th book in the series, it actually serves as a bit of a prequel, which is really interesting. it starts in the present when Arthur is mortified by a new biography of his early legal career, which doesn't present him in the best light. And so he decides to respond with a memoir of his own where he writes about his first big case. It was an impossible murder trial that seemed bound to tank his career. The defendant that he's representing is a young maid who murders her employer after he violently sexually assaults her. And so she herself has already gone and confessed to police. It seems like an open and shut case, but of course, nothing is quite as it seems. The really interesting thing about this book is it's actually based on a real trial that William defended in the 80s. He was serving as a lawyer in northern BC and was representing a housemaid who was accused of shooting her own brutal employer. Like the rest of the series, this can also be read as a standalone, but it's a really great place to start. Publishers Weekly called the framing device ingenious and said that the surprise-packed courtroom action puts this on the level of one of the series' best entries. The Globe and Mail up here in Canada also called it one of William Deverell's best, and we were so excited to see the book featured in the New York Times. Full of really exciting twists and turns, this is a classic courtroom drama that will keep you on the edge of your seat and turning pages till the end. Next slide, please. Another long-running series for us is Anne Emery's Collins and Burke Mysteries, and this latest team-up is also, like William's book, based on real events. This time, a huge, important event in Canadian history, the Halifax explosion. For all my American fans, if you don't know, the Halifax explosion happened in 1917. When two ships collided in the Halifax harbor on the East Coast. And the explosion that it triggered killed 2,000 people, injured more than 9,000 more, and just destroyed an enormous chunk of the city. And so this is the starting place for our mystery. 70 years in the future, in the 80s, Father Brennan Burke's school, at Father Brennan Burke's school, the students have written a 2-act play about the Halifax explosion. But somebody doesn't want the second act to be performed. The students are receiving threats, and when a young woman is found dead, Father Brennan and his friend, lawyer Monty Collins, team up once again to figure out what, if anything, connects all of these events with an explosion that happened more than 70 years before. The Collins and Burke mystery series have also been a bestseller for us nationally, and it's a real fan favorite. This is the 13th book in the series, but again, it can definitely be read as a standalone, and then you can go back and read all of the other books in this series, which the Globe and Mail said the series gets better and better with every book. If you're a history buff or a mystery fan, Publishers Weekly promises that you'll be satisfied with this absolutely wonderful read. And Booklist has also praised Counted Among the Dead, saying that Anne is not just a good storyteller, but a stylist as well. Every word of her prose feels carefully chosen for the way it interacts with the words around it. This is a fine entry into a wonderful series that I hope you will pick up. Next slide, please. Crooked by Dietrich Kaltese. We have another based on a true story thriller. This latest historical thriller by award-winning author Dietrich follows Alvin Karpis, a young man who makes a new friend, Fred Barker, while he is serving in the Kansas State Prison, as one does. These two outlaws reconnect when they get out of jail in 1931, and they form the infamous Barker-Karpis gang, setting out on a campaign of terror and robberies that lands them on the top of J. Edgar Hoover's public enemies list. So the question is, how long can these two men evade capture? And where is there to run when an entire nation is after you? This is a fast-paced page-turner, once again, based on a true story. This time it's the life of one of the most notorious criminals in American history, Alvin Karpis. And honestly, Dietrich is just the writer to do it. If anyone's going to bring this story to life, it's him. Since his lauded debut in 2015, he's had a long career as a crime writer, and he's only been getting better. It's especially interesting that since his 2021 award-winning novel Under an Outlaw Moon, which was based on another very famous team of American criminals. That book won the Crime Writers of Canada Award for Best Novel, and he's really been exploring historical crime in a big way and has gotten so much praise for it. Publishers Weekly called Crooked another winner and has called him a natural heir to Elmore Leonard, while the BC Review of Books called the book gripping and said that they were hooked like a cop pinned against the wall or a bank manager locked in his empty safe. If you love historical crimes, I have great news for you. Dietrich is coming out with another one next year, Dirty Little War, coming out in March of 2025, and we have arcs of that as well. So please reach out. This is a 2-for-1 deal. Get Crooked and Dirty Little War. Shoot me an email after this. Next slide, please. Now we're moving into some new voices that we're really excited to be bringing into ECW's list. The first is Grounds for Murder, a Jeannie Wolfert Lang mystery by Betty Turnier Daniels. This is a debut and a new series that we're going to be adding to our long list of quirky, lovely, cozy mysteries. Our main character is the recently widowed Jeannie Wolfert Lang, a farmer in her 60s, who refuses to sell her land and retire, no matter how much her family and friends push her or however much money anyone offers her. But when an especially persistent realtor is killed while using Jeannie's car, Jeannie knows that the hit was intended for her, and so suddenly so much more than just her farm is at stake. Teaming up with an off-duty police officer named Derek, Jeannie races to figure out who wants her land so badly that they would kill for it, and why her farm specifically when there is so much land for sale around her. Featuring a feisty older sleuth and a really sweet late-in-life romance, Grounds for Murder is another lovely cozy that's perfect for fans of Iona Winshaw's Lane Winslow mysteries, or readers who love like a fiery older lady like a Miss Marple or a Vera Wong. What I especially love about this book is that it's also a debut from an older author. Like her hero, Jeannie, Betty is a farmer in her 70s and bases all of her stunning descriptions of the land on her own farm and community. And you can really see that love for the land in her wonderful descriptions, which Publishers Weekly has called irresistible. Again, the weather is getting colder, or it eventually will. It's quite warm in Toronto right now. So once it does, if you're going to want something really sweet and gentle and cozy to curl up with, please pick up this one. Next slide. And the last book I want to talk about is such a hard 180 from the last book. We're moving from sweet, gentle, older ladies to feisty, fiery, very kind of messed up young actresses. And so this is a really fun, dark comedy thriller that's perfect for all the divas out there, all the reformed theater kids, and just the mad, bad girlies who want something fun to read. She is a Lamb is coming out next spring. This is one of our lead fiction titles for the spring season, and it follows Jessamine St. Germain, who is a woman with a dream. She knows that she's destined to be a star. Not just a lowly usher at her community theater, not a no-name actress who just occasionally books yogurt commercials. She is going to the top. And the first step on the ladder is the role of Maria in that community theater's production of The Sound of Music. And even when she doesn't get the role, she's just hired to watch the children who play the Von Trapp kids. She knows that that's just the director trying to keep her close so that when the current Maria fails, which she will, Jessamine will be there to step in and take over. Because once again, Jessamine's going to be a star. She has to be, and she's going to do whatever it takes to make it. Like Yellowface meets A24's Pearl, She is a Lamb is a sharp, dark, funny story about the dangers of magical thinkings and how sometimes a delusion is not the solution. If you loved this growing trend of bad women doing bad things, which I really do, if you like books of All's Well, or the work of Jen Began or Hallie Butler, you're going to absolutely love She is a Lamb. Meredith is such a fantastic writer who brings so much depth and complexity to Jessamine. We've been getting so many fantastic 5-star reader reviews on NetGalley, and so many of them have praised the character. They've called her demented, narcissistic, vapid, entitled, outrageously flawed, and unhinged, but at the same time, they love her. She's smart, she's funny, she's nuanced. You don't agree with anything she does, but you love being along for the ride with her. I think one reviewer, Kaden B, really put it best. They said that reading this novel was a full body experience, and I mean that in the best way. The unrelenting dive into the troubled psyche of Jessamine was unlike anything I've experienced in a novel. She's both deeply relatable and despicable, which is somehow an intriguing combination. Once again, this is our lead fiction title for 2025, and we have so many arcs to give away, so please do reach out afterwards, and I'm so happy to send you one. Next slide, please. So that's all we've got. Thank you so much for your time. Feel free to contact me if you'd like reading copies or if you'd like to place any orders. I have our sales director's information there as well. Next slide. And don't forget to sign up for our newsletter. Find us on Edelweiss and NetGalley as well, where you can also find arcs for many of the books that I mentioned today. Next slide. And that's it. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thank you, Ellen. That was wonderful. Okay, and now we have Faith Madsen. Faith is the senior editor and publicist at Oceanview Publishing, where she has worked since 2021. In her free time, Faith tells us she's an avid reader, of course, a crossword puzzle enthusiast, and an amateur gardener. All good. Thanks, Faith.
Thank you, Donna, and thank you, everyone. These books have all sounded so amazing so far. I hope you guys have room left in your heads for a few more books. I don't have too many, luckily, so I will try to not waste any time. But first of all, for those of you who don't know Oceanview Publishing, we are an independent mystery, thriller, and suspense publisher based in Sarasota, Florida. We put out about 10 to 15 new titles every year, and we've been around since 2006. These titles that I'm presenting today are some of my favorites that we've ever put out, and I mean that 100% honestly. These books are amazing, so I hope that they excite you as much as they have excited me. So I'll just go ahead and jump right into our first title. First up, we have The Boundaries We Cross by Brad Parks, and this book actually comes out in a couple of weeks, so this one is highly anticipated, and I wanted to make sure that I highlighted it. It is probably our most anticipated novel of the year. The Boundaries We Cross is a smart, well-written, surprising thriller featuring real, relatable characters, timely topics, and a twisty plot that fans of psychological thrillers will find addicting. In The Boundaries We Cross, Charles Bliss is a teacher at an elite Connecticut boarding school who is accused of having an inappropriate relationship with a student. Then she disappears under mysterious circumstances, and he becomes the primary suspect. It soon becomes clear that there's only one way he can clear his name: find her. This novel has already received some really incredible reviews, including a starred review from Publishers Weekly that says Parks excels at shaping his characters' voices, with chapters alternating between a desperate Charles and an increasingly anxious excerpt from Haley's journal. Haley is the girl that disappears. Crackling dialogue, vigorous pacing, and a surprisingly fresh angle on well-trod subject matter bolster things further. Readers won't be able to put this down. I think that review really captures the essence of this novel, because you might hear, oh, a professor is accused of an inappropriate relationship with a student, and you think you've heard that story before, but I guarantee you, you have not heard this story before. It is incredible and mind-warping and beautifully written, and you just won't be able to put it down as soon as you pick it up, because I certainly couldn't the first time that I read it. And Brad Parks is just an incredible author. He is an international best-selling author, and he's the only writer to have won the Seamus, Nero, and Lefty Awards, 3 of crime fiction's most prestigious prizes. His novels have been published in 16 languages and garnered critical acclaim across the globe, including stars from many major review outlets. He's a former journalist with the Washington Post and the Star-Ledger, and he's now a full-time novelist. His prior novels have received thousands of reviews on Amazon, with his novel Interference garnering nearly 15,000 reviews by itself. He has been reviewed by Booklist, Library Journal, Associated Press, Kirkus, The Washington Post, The Sunday Times, and more. He's received blurbs from amazing authors like Sue Grafton, Lee Child, David Baldacci, Robert Dugoni, Heather Graham, William Landay, Joseph Binder, and that's to name just a few. He is certainly an author's author. He's well known for his craft, and you can see why on every page. He's also well known in Germany, where his books have appeared on Der Spiegel bestseller lists, and he's won many awards for his novels. But most of all, I just want you to take away that this is a riveting novel with relatable characters and timely subject matter. It will appeal to readers of all ages, and it's perfect for fans of Harlan Coben and Jodi Picoult. All right, on the next slide, I have our next title, River of Lies by James Latois. River of Lies is the second book in a promising series featuring a strong-willed female detective who doesn't rely on anyone else to solve the crime and who grapples with personal dilemmas while juggling intense investigations. It has a twisty plot featuring a strong moral center and characters with heart. In River of Lies, Detective Emily Hunter must investigate a string of devastating arson attacks that are tearing through Sacramento's homeless camps. When a victim is identified as the city's former anti-homeless mayor, the investigation becomes politically charged as Emily uncovers who stands to gain from burning the homeless out of their shelters. So River of Lies is in part a traditional police procedural detective mystery novel, but it also delves deeply into our protagonist, Emily Hunter's personal life. She struggles to care for her aging mother who has Alzheimer's disease. She's also entering into a new romantic relationship at somewhat of a tumultuous time in her life. And she's just a very empathetic person. And so she very much so connects with the victims that she is trying to help get justice for. She's just a phenomenal character. I love reading her. James Latois is a fantastic author, and he has some very unique experience that sort of lends itself perfectly to writing crime novels. He is a former associate warden in a maximum security prison, hostage negotiator, facility captain, and director of California's state parole system, and he uses his 29 years behind bars as an influence in his award-winning novels, short stories, and screenplays. And he currently lives with his wife outside of Sacramento, California, which is where this novel is set. So there's lots of strong regional ties there. In fact, I think all of the authors today that I'm presenting live in California. So if you're in California, shout out. The first novel in this series, Face of Greed, was nominated for the Lefty Award for Best Mystery. Not only that, it was also our best-selling novel of 2023. So this series is a great one, and we're really excited for the sequel to come out, and we think a lot of people are excited for it as well. This book has already gotten some great reviews, including one from Allison Galen that says, Detective Emily Hunter is a sharp, compelling heroine with brains, heart, and true grit. Everything I've been looking for in a series character. I couldn't agree more, and I think this book and this whole series is perfect for fans of Michael Connelly and Karen Slaughter. All right, on the next slide, we've got The Department by Jacqueline Faber. This is another very highly anticipated novel, and this is Jacqueline Faber's debut novel. The Department is a gripping, page-turning, literary and psychological thriller that features alternating points of view, complex characters, and a truly shocking ending, all while exploring the lasting impacts of trauma through the fast-paced narrative set in the world of academia. In The Department, philosophy professor Neil Weber's life couldn't be more boring. But when a troubled student at his university disappears, he may be the only one who can solve the mystery. To find the truth, he must confront the disturbing secrets of his department and his own unburied past. So this novel is definitely the most literary novel out of the novels I'll be presenting today, but it is very approachable. It's not anything to be intimidated by. It's very readable, and in fact, I could not put it down as soon as I picked it up. It also features dueling points of view that are separated by a year in terms of the timeline. So one narrator is the victim, the girl who goes missing, and then the other narrator is the professor who's trying to find her. And so we start the story with the girl a year prior to her disappearance, and we sort of learn everything that leads up to it. And then we start the story with the professor right at the time of her disappearance and everything that happens after that, how he kind of wraps himself up into it. The story is very nuanced, and it explores a lot of complex themes, such as the lasting impacts of trauma, how it can affect people's actions and shape their morals and values, and the ways that they just react to certain situations. But Jacqueline Faber is a phenomenal author, and she's so excellent at distilling all of that thematic goodness into this beautiful story that you just don't want to put down. Jacqueline Faber is an author and freelance writer, and she has a PhD in comparative literature from Emory University. And she's taught undergraduate classes at both Emory and NYU, where she received an award for excellence in teaching. She currently lives in Los Angeles. So I encourage everybody to check this novel out. It is certainly one that you won't want to miss, and it will leave a lasting impact on you long after you finish it. So it's perfect for fans of Tana French and Gillian Flynn, but also just perfect for everybody, I think. All right, next slide. Okay, this is the last title I have for you today. This is A Murder in Zion by Nicole Maggie. And this is the author's first adult fiction novel, so not quite her debut, but we're calling it her adult debut. A Murder in Zion is a riveting procedural mystery with breathtaking scenery, sympathetic and well-developed characters, and a shocking twist. Readers will be glued to the page as they set off on a wild, high-stakes adventure through rugged wilderness. A quick synopsis: when the body of a childhood friend turns up in the Narrows of Zion National Park, Emmeline Hellewell, a special agent with the National Park Service, is called in to investigate. As bodies start to pile up, Emma soon realizes that the breathtaking beauty of Zion National Park may hide sordid secrets in its depths. So this book is a crime novel first and foremost, and it's a very good crime novel, but it is also an immersion into the beauty of Zion National Park. You truly feel like you are there, standing on the ground, going for a hike, seeing all this breathtaking scenery, feeling the wind on your face and the sun, and it's just beautiful. And so it's great for fans of, travel novels, adventure, all of that stuff. But it's also a fantastic crime novel. It also delves into a little bit of family complexities and drama. Sisterhood is a big theme, and it also has a little bit of romance as well. And it has a huge twist at the end. So it's really everything that you want in a good crime novel. And this is the first book in a potential new series. So we would like to continue the series, and Nicole would be writing a book set in each national park around the country. And our protagonist, who works with the National Park Service at the federal level, would be traveling around to each national park and solving a different crime there. Super fun concept, and we think it's super exciting, so I hope you guys do too. Nicole Maggie is a really phenomenal writer. She is not only the author of A Murder in Zion, but she also wrote What They Don't Know and the Twin Willows trilogy, as well as the nonfiction book Hidden Wonders and the ITW Thriller Award-nominated novel The Forgetting. Nicole holds a BFA from Emerson College and currently resides in Los Angeles, California, where she spends her free time planning her next national park adventure and volunteering with her daughter's Girl Scout troop. So I think this is a great novel for anyone who loves crime fiction and anyone who loves enjoying the outdoors, which I think is most people. It's gotten some great reviews, including one that calls it a truly epic tale and a gripping page turner that blends the breathtaking beauty and treacherous dangers of the wilderness. It's great for fans of C.J. Box and Lisa Gardner. All right, and that is it. So we can go to my last slide. Thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to find a review copy, they are all available on Edelweiss. You can find all of our forthcoming titles there, as well as some of our backlist titles. They are all available for immediate download. The link is there and also in the title list. You can follow us on social media at Oceanview Pub on all platforms. My email address is down there at the bottom. Please feel free to keep in touch and let me know if you have any questions about anything. I'm happy to answer any questions, no matter how big or small. But thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
And thank you, Faith. And thank you, all of our presenters. What lively, wonderful presentations today. So tomorrow, all attendees will receive an email containing links to today's slide presentation, the title list, the certificate of completion, and video recording. For more about Booklist webinars, please visit booklistonline.com/webinars, where you can view archives of past webinars and register for upcoming ones like those you see here. Attention all library workers, educators, booksellers, and students. We have a special subscription offer exclusive to webinar attendees. Subscribe to Booklist now and stay on top of the latest books, glean readers' advisory guidance, and get collection development advice through print and digital editions of Booklist and access to Booklist Online. Plus, our Booklist subscription now comes with free digital and shareable copies of our new product for patrons, Booklist Reader. We're so proud of this. Scan the QR code or visit our website for more details. Thank you for joining us for today's wonderful webinar. One more big thank you to our splendid panelists and to our sponsors, HarperCollins, SOHO Press, ECW Press, and Oceanview. This concludes today's webinar. Stay well. See you next time.